Hello out there, this is Cammy White, and you're listening to Rushdown Radio.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rushdown review for The Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 3. Alright, so this is a long time coming. I've been waiting for this game forever. I am super excited about this. I am so glad that it finally arrived and everybody can finally get their hands on it. It took us a long time to get here, but we're finally here. Let's just not waste any more time. Alright, so first up, let's talk about the story. The story is Rean Schwarzer, our Ashen Knight, our lovable hero, the master of head pets, is now an instructor at Thor's Military Academy, but at the branch campus, which is not where Trista is, where he was originally when he went to school. So this branch campus opens up after all of his exploits between Trails of Cold Steel 2 and Part 3. In that small chunk of time between this game and the previous game, Rean becomes kind of a celebrity. He becomes the symbol of, revolution for the Empire. Reluctantly, of course. He becomes the Ashen Knight, or the Ashen Chevalier, whichever one you want to use. During that time, he worked for the Empire, and he helped to annex Crossbell and Northumbria. Now, Crossbell is a very important city because this is where a lot of the crazy stuff took place in Trails of Cold Steel 2, as well as Trails to Zero. Now, Trails to Zero is a game that was a part of the Trails series, but it never came to America. It was on a PSP, and then it got ported over to PS Vita later. Now, a lot of plot points from Trails to Zero, which are called the Crossbell arc, do follow over to this game. So there are going to be a lot of characters that look unfamiliar to you if you've only played the Trails of Cold Steel series. So I definitely recommend playing through Trails of Cold Steel 1 and 2 if you haven't already played them. I mean, there's no reason to really play this one if you played those. And if you've only played Trails of Cold Steel games, you should definitely try to go back and play Trails to the Sky and definitely Trails to Zero. Now, Trails to Zero is a little bit harder to get a copy of. I would suggest probably trying to find a fan translation. There are a couple of fan translation projects that are going on right now, and they're pretty fantastic. I've actually played one of the fan translations through GeoFront. Really good stuff. I was able to finish the very first Trails to Zero game, which helped me to get more of context for this game, because one of the characters from Trails to Zero is one of the main characters in this game. He's actually one of Rean's co-instructors at this new branch campus. Now, this new branch campus looks really fishy from the onset. You're trying to figure out why exactly they opened the school and what's the purpose of having these specific kids they have there. And throughout the course of the game, you find out that, and this whole conspiracy with Ouroboros, and just all the stuff that happened in the previous game that kind of went under hush-hush, as well as a lot of characters who were considered gone, quote-quote, somehow magically become alive in this game. You have to find out why that happened and what was the circumstance behind that. And also some plot points from Trails to the Sky become really apparent too. I want to mention that there is a secret scene in Trails of Cold Steel 2 that happens after you collect all of the black, I think it's like the black artifacts. They're like this book you're trying to put together. And if you don't do that in the previous game, you're going to be a little confused when you play this one, because it picks up right after that secret scene comes up, and that secret scene is actually a really important plot point in this game. So if you haven't seen it, I would suggest just go on YouTube and try to find the cutscene. It's pretty easy to find these days. So yeah, Rean is in a lot over his head. There are so many characters from all of the games, from Trails to the Sky, Trails to Zero, and of course the previous games of Trails of Cold Steel. You don't have to play the other games to get a understanding what's going on and have an appreciation for the story, but I feel like if you haven't played those games, you're not getting the entirety of how grand this story is, because this story spans over 15 years of gameplay storytelling. So if you can, I say try to play them. If you can't, then you'll still enjoy this, but I still suggest you do. Alright, so let's get into the combat. The combat hasn't changed very much. I would say that the only parts about the combat that changed were the UI, which is more command based. It's kind of like Persona 5, when you press a button, it corresponds to a different command that you can use. And another thing they added to the combat was the Brave Orders. Now, Brave Orders are pretty much buffs that you get for the entire team, and these don't cost a turn to use them either, which is really useful because in the previous games you would get like crafts that would give you buffs and you would use them. Of course, that would take a whole turn and would take some of your CP to use it. Whereas this game, your buffs are separate. You can either use magic, of course, which they have a lot of magic-based buffs, or you can use the Brave Orders. The Brave Orders are really good, and every character has specific ones that's only for them. So it's really important to customize and, you know, experiment with different characters and see which Brave Orders you like, because some people have cooler things than other ones. If you're really attack heavy, there's characters that definitely excel at attack power. If you're more magic based, so you like using magic attacks and magical characters, then there's ones for that too, which is pretty cool. The battle system is a lot faster. The dungeons are bigger, so what they did in this game to make transitions a lot quicker. You actually fight directly on the map versus having a special cutaway and you go to a different space for battles, which I thought was really good. It kind of reminds me of Tales of Zestiria and Tales of Zestiria. No, Zestiria, sorry. So it kind of reminds me of that type of game, which is pretty good. So yeah, not a whole lot of change with the battle system. If you play the first two games, you already know how to play this new one. One thing they did add for the Arcus is that you're able to equip two Arcus. So you have one character and you have a support character Arcus, and this actually plays out also in your mech battles because you're able to have a support character for not only Rean, but also whatever character you have also in your party for mech battles. So that's good too. So it's not a lot of theory that's changed. There's a lot of quality of life changes they've had on when you're doing like adventuring and just exploring. Like there's like actual names on buildings and names on like the houses when you enter them, so you know where you're going, which is pretty cool. The map pretty much is the same. I mean, you can either go through places by actually going there yourself, or you can use the quick travel, which is really useful. Yeah, not a whole bunch of changes, but just a few quality of life changes that they made. I really appreciate it. Overall, I think this is a really well made game. I mean, you can't really go wrong when you have a team like them who just consistently make quality games and they just know exactly what works for them, and they continue to not push the envelope as far as like graphics, but they push the envelope as far as like story and world building and characterization and stuff like that, which I think is really important because I think that's something that's the cornerstone of RPGs, and this game understands that. I do want to stress again that this game has a lot of characters, and some characters are familiar and some not so much. So if you haven't played the previous games, if you haven't played Trails in the Sky or Trails to Zero, there are going to be some people you're going to be like, who are you? Where'd you come from? They're going to be really unknown to you. So, but don't let that discourage you. The game is still great, and you can still play this and have a great time and enjoy it if you've only played the first two games in the series. But if you want to get a full breadth of the story, I say go back and play the old ones if you can. Overall, the music is great. The voice acting is fantastic. It's still the same quality as the previous game. The translation is good because that was a really big part of contention, which NIS taking over for translation. I think they did a really good job. The voice director for this game did a great job getting all the characters to sound like themselves and continue having just quality voice acting. So yeah, overall, this is a really quality RPG. If you've played the previous games, you're gonna definitely want to play this one. There's a lot of like surprises and crazy stuff happening, and it's like the story it picks up a lot faster than the previous two games did, which is great, and it just goes and goes and goes. It's just once you start, it just continues to just keep like elevating itself over and over again. All right, thanks for listening to my review for Trails of Cold Steel 3. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you next video.
Don't forget to subscribe.